this week, more than perhaps any other week, I'm in such a hurry to rush to the interview that I'm almost tempted to skip what's turning us on this week. But it's almost perfectly part of the interview, right? Because we're talking tonight about like what is something that turns us on? Like, how do we categorize these things? Like, are these things porn or not? And what does that mean? So, Laura, let me start with you. What's got you worked up this week?
Absolutely. Well, what's turning me on this time is food and in many different ways, right? So I've heard Christy say it many, many times before that, like if you have a date night, you have the fun first and the food later. So
Yes,
there's always
always fuck
that, like
first.
food as fuck first, food later. And that's a great recharger afterwards, right? To like get you all fueled back up. But
Yeah.
food is great for before, after, and during. So
Ooh.
things like whipped cream in safe places that aren't going to cause infections.
Yes.
Little drizzle here and there, some flavored lube that is safe for all those places. That is what's turning me on this week.
Awesome. Yeah. Sin, what's got you worked up right now?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about this podcast that I found. It is called Good Girls Talk About Sex. And Leah Carey is the host. You can find the Twitter at Good Girls Talk. But yeah, the podcast is everywhere you get your podcasts. And what it is about women all ages talking about sort of, there's like almost a standard sort of interview questions that she's got. And you just talk about like sexual history, childhood up through like sexual relationships. And the goal of this podcast, from what I can tell, is definitely about just being more open about sexuality and about having these conversations and how that empowers us, in many different ways, but especially as women, and we can be raised to like that we don't talk about these things. And of course that's all genders, but
Right.
Yeah, so I think like encouraging that conversation. And then I think for people to hear these conversations as just listeners, like that's so powerful, and people can be, oh my gosh, I thought that was just me, sort of thing. So I just think that's so positive. And yes, I have filled out an application to be a guest on that podcast. So
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll keep an eye out for that episode. No, that sounds like a great time.
Yeah.